Well, we kick off this morning taking a look at the U.S.-China trade breakthrough with the meeting of President Donald Trump and President Xi of China. The question is, how big a breakthrough is this, and what does this mean for the global economy? What does it mean for South Africa? What does this mean for our currency? And joining us is political economist Dr. Dale McKinley. Dr. Dale McKinley, good morning to you, sir. Welcome to the show, and always a pleasure having you with us.
Yes, good morning, Inyet, and to all the listeners and viewers. Thank you.
Yes. Dr. McKinley, just to start off with, and obviously, we've seen since Donald Trump has taken office the tariff wars that initially in his presidency that had taken place, and particularly with regard to China. And here we're talking about two of the world's largest economies in both the United States and China. And this latest meeting between the two presidents, what does this actually mean for the global economy, and how big a trade breakthrough is this?
Well, I'm one of those that doesn't think it's much of a breakthrough at all. It's basically going back to where things were a little while before. So let's just remind listeners and viewers that, the war, the trade war between China and United States is basically started by Donald Trump with threatening, 100% tariffs on all Chinese exports and basically trying to bully China into accepting his agenda. And what happened was, as a result of that, China fought back, and they put a particularly a strong kind of move that they made was they put export controls on rare earth minerals, which they control and have the deposits of many of these rare earth minerals that are needed in manufacturing with regards to clean energy, with regards to technology, cell phones, and other kinds of things. So the United States was feeling the heat, and Trump, it wasn't particularly working very well. And so what this trade agreement does is it basically loosens some of those export controls. China's agreed on their side to loosen that. In return, they've also said they will buy more agricultural products from the United States, which they had been basically dropping over the last year or so. And particularly soybeans. And in return, the United States will drop the tariff from, I think, a 20% general tariff to a 10% one, and will open up some more avenues for Chinese investment. So essentially what we've done is we've gone back to where we were a year ago. It's not really a matter of progress. It's a matter of the fact that what it shows is that Trump's agenda of tariff bullying and running around the world trying to push everybody, he chose the wrong enemy. China is not somebody that can be pushed around in particular, and they fought back, and they have basically fought the United States to a standstill. This is an agreement which basically gives each side a little bit of something. Its impact on the global economy, it won't be great. It'll ease some of the potential sort of trade issues, but I think where it has the most impact, where it had the most knock-ons, is on economies that were filling the gap of the United States absence from those markets. So let me give you an example. As the agricultural products of the United States started lessening in terms of Chinese imports, Brazil and Argentina took that gap, and we're starting to export massive amounts of soybeans and other agricultural products. South Africa has taken a small gap in that regard in certain areas of trade as well. Not much, but there are other countries, and this will probably lessen that trade or impact on that trade. And that's why you saw just a little bit of a blip in the rand valuation, and in the sense that, an economy like ours might be affected because we were benefiting to some degree from China's turn away from the United States and towards more global South countries.
Yes, in fact, very, very interesting in terms of your reading and unpacking of, Donald Trump and the bullying in particular. But again, coming back now to South Africa, and we are talking about the rand in particular. We know the rand has been holding steady for quite a while as well. But also looking at South Africa and where we stand as far as the United States is concerned. And also at the same time being part of BRICS as well. We know recently Donald Trump has been making a lot of noises with regards to countries that are obviously affiliated to BRICS or who are aligned to BRICS in some way or the other. And there have been some veiled threats that have been made by Donald Trump as well, Dr. McKinley.
Yeah, so I mean, I think first of all, the rand issue is not really fundamentally has changed. I mean, the rand right now is trading around 17.2 in that area. It's going back and forth every day a little bit. I mean, it shifted. Uh, Essentially, the markets are responding, and why we're having a better exchange rate, particularly to the U.S. dollar, is because the U.S. economy is struggling. And people are also looking for outlets. People are looking for other havens where our interest rates, for example, are a little bit higher than the United States. You saw the Federal Reserve in the United States cutting the interest rates the other day. And therefore, you can, investment wise, it's a little bit of a better bet, at least in the short term. So in that context, I think the larger concerns is not so much, that we are going to be fundamentally affected by what is going on with regards right now to U.S. and China, but it's the larger global trade issues and our relationships with the United States in particular. So where is that? We're trying to renegotiate a one-year extension of AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunity Act. Those talks are still there. Our government is still trying to persuade South Africa to lower the tariff barrier in order to be able to have some kind of better access to the markets. But people are adjusting. And this is the thing, is that, and I think one of the things that obviously Donald Trump does not understand about economics and the United States administration is that they make these very drastic, announcements. We're slapping massive amounts of tariffs. We're going to attack the BRICS countries. We're going to isolate them. And what happens is the assumption there is that the United States is able to control global trade, and it can't. So countries are shifting to more trade with each other and finding new markets. This is what's happening with our agricultural sector, which has been now blocked out of certain sections of the United States economy, or the prices of imports and the tariffs are much higher. So what the United States is doing and what the Trump is doing is actually creating the conditions for parallel markets to happen where the United States is not dominant anymore as they used to be. And in fact, he's undermining the global position of the United States in many ways. So it's ironic that while it might seem that the United States has these cards and is playing them, the longer term implications of this are a weakening of the United States economy and strengthening of other economies as they begin to lessen their dependence on the United States.
Dr. McKinley, it's interesting what you're talking about, and we're talking about creating the conditions of a parallel economy. But let's just talk about the U.S. dollar, because what does this actually mean for the U.S. dollar? Because Trump also recently, again talking about the dominance of the US dollar, and particularly if it comes under threat, and possibly if there may be a parallel currency that will compete with the US dollar as well, or maybe reduce the demand for the US dollar as well. Where would this actually leave the dollar as the dominant currency in the world?
Yeah, so we're not in a position right now where any other currency is going to replace it at the moment. Anyway, in the short term, the U.S. dollar is the main trading currency, is the main sort of currency of a global trade. But it's under attack, should we say? It's getting hit quite hard. The U.S. dollar has not performed particularly well against the major currencies over the last many months. And if you've seen, even in our case, our rand is notoriously fickle in terms of moving up, and we've improved quite substantially. I mean, just if you look back 8 months ago, we were closing in on 18 and 18.5 to the US dollar. Now it's 17.2. So the US dollar is waning in its influence. And the reason why is because Donald Trump's policies are so unpredictable. One day he says one thing, he shifts to another. He's basically trying to prioritize U.S. economy, but in the process of doing that, this Make America First kind of agenda, what he's doing is he's undermining the confidence of both long-term allies, for example, the European Union and other countries that have long-term been allies with the United States, as well as global South countries, which have always relied on the United States dollar in particular as the currency of trade. So they're starting to look for other possibilities. It's not there yet. But what it means is that, BRICS has talked about developing an alternative currency. It's still in its infancy. It's going to take a long time for that to happen. But in the meantime, what's happening is more trade is happening in other currencies, particularly the Chinese currency, the renminbi, the European Union, the euro, and other kinds of currency, the Japanese yen. And people are seeking other markets and safe havens in that context, because I think the feeling is that if Trump continues on his particular pathway that he's going economically, the U.S. economy is going to get worse, and the United States dollar is going to lose more of its power. So I think there's a what we're entering into is a period where the possibilities of the real dominance of the U.S. dollar is waning and is getting more so. The possibilities that an alternative currencies will be developed within the next, let's say, 10 years, or at least in the next few years anyway.
Well, with the U.S. and from what you're saying, Dr. McKinley, with the U.S. economy struggling, could there be global consequences?
Yes, of course. I mean, the first thing, you don't change a dominant political and economic position for 40 years overnight. It just doesn't shift immediately. Many countries were very heavily dependent upon access to the United States markets. If the United States economy is not doing well, then that means there's less trading opportunities and less profit opportunities for corporations and countries. There's also the impact, as we felt here, on developmental aid. So the United States, up until fairly recently, was a prime sort of leader in, for example, PEPFAR and HIV/AIDS, in a lot of other funding of the United Nations, funding of a lot of international agencies. Trump's pulled back on all of those commitments. And what that does is, while his argument is, of course, that this benefits the United States, what it does is it lessens the United States' influence. If there's no money flowing in those areas, people then stop paying attention to that and look for other alternatives. So in the sense, the performance of the U.S. economy means that the more difficulties there are in the U.S. economy, and the more it turns inward, the less the United States has in terms of influence on the global terrain. And I think that's the real issue in the context of this nationalism, is that you can pay attention to your own economy, but in this case, it's at the expense, in the context of the United States as a leading political and economic power, it's the expense of their global reputation and their global position. So it's changing. We're shifting. The winds are moving, and the United States is losing out.
Yes. Dr. McKinley, I've just got a question that's come through from a listener on cryptocurrency, saying cryptocurrency in shaping global trade. Many people say that November the 22nd is a significant date. Can you expand on this?
Look, I'm not an expert within the cryptocurrency market, and it's a notoriously fickle and unpredictable kind of market. But basically what Trump has done, and the Trump family, because of their embrace of the cryptocurrency markets and their loosening of a lot of regulations, they brought it almost front and center into, before it was on the margins in many ways, where people were trading and trying to make money. But now, as a result of I think Trump's policies in particular, and he's brought that into the sort of trying to bring it into the economic mainstream. You do have countries like El Salvador and others that have adopted cryptocurrency in a much more sort of mainstream kind of economic way. But my sense is that what cryptocurrency and the regulations, the lessening of these regulations, I'm not quite sure what the fundamental importance of the 22nd of November is. Maybe the reader can indicate to us what is going to happen then. But my sense is that what's happening is the cryptocurrency market is going to be let loose, and it's going to have impact, obviously, in the context of trading in cryptocurrencies, of using this as a currency itself. But it still has its limitations, precisely because there have very few countries that have still not mainstreamed it within their economic policies and their economic infrastructure. And until that happens, cryptocurrency will play an important role, but still one that is still on the margins of mainstream global economic trade.
Yes, I'm sure all of us are looking ahead at the G20 summit in South Africa as well. And just finally, just your views, your thoughts in unpacking, what can be expected at the G20 summit, Dr. McKinley?
Well, I'm one of those that doesn't expect much. Summits are generally opportunities for leaders, in this case, global leaders, to come together, to make speeches, to network, and to show that that they're taking economics and global politics seriously. I think, and I've said this before, where the real work happens is behind the scenes, is what's going on in terms of all the task teams that the G20 has put together and all the deals that are being made on the side. So what the importance of the G20 for us is that it provides us with a platform, a global platform, a voice for South Africa to put forward particular kinds of perspectives, to remind people that the African continent is at the center of looking at the future in terms of economic growth and possible potential, as well to try to change the conversation towards a more equal economic trading regime globally and so forth. But these things are not new necessarily. I think where the G20 is going to really struggle is to try to, in the midst of all of these talking about new trade opportunities and dealing with intellectual property and new technology, AI, cryptocurrencies, whatever it might be, is that as long as many countries are moving towards a more narrow nationalist, internal sort of like situation where they're trying to protect their own markets and they're trying to basically, speak to their own constituencies, anti-immigration, we're going to look inwards. That is a pushback against what the general agenda of the G20 is, which was to open global markets, to make trade much easier. And so you've got a competition going on between the politics of nationalism and the politics of globalization. And I think that's what makes the G20 interesting, is to watch how that plays itself out, because we're in early days right now. But the South Africans at least have had this platform to make their voices heard. And that's an important symbolic opportunity for us.
Well, we look forward to that as well. And as always, Dr. McKinley, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out with us on Solar Media. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, as always.
Dr. Dale McKinley, political economist, with us this morning. And yes, a very, very interesting analysis and unpacking of this meeting between the two presidents of the United States of America and China, and also looking at saying that, obviously this is not a breakthrough, because we are basically where we were almost a year ago when Donald Trump had taken office. And with that, the time is just gone 8:30. We're going to go for a quick break. We come back, and our focus is going to be on the genocide that is unfolding in Sudan.